Howdy folks, welcome back to the channel. I want to give an update of where we left off from this time to last. I had said in the last video that I cleaned this block up for inspection. So we're kind of in the middle of cleaning up the cylinder bores. I used my old Lyle cylinder hone and I picked up some new stones. So I used the old stones in my home to remove some of the rust out of the bores. I picked these up at Advanced Auto. They are your modern day made in China stuff that they sell at Advanced Auto. I believe it does say made in China somewhere. I don't want to. Yeah. Yep, it says it, so I'm not misspeaking there. Yep, made in China, copyright 2018. I don't know if the card's made in China. I'm assuming the stones are, but what I'm going to do is I got the rust off. I got a sort of a semi crosshatch thing going on in the cylinders, and I'm going to hit it again with these new stones to try and get them cleaned up even better. But we'll get into that later. One of the things I did, I sprayed down the rust with PB Blaster. This stuff will actually chemically turn the rust into a paste. And that helped to get the initial coat of surface rust off. I do believe I had coated these boards with grease. I might have been another block, but I know back in the day whenever I was going to let a block sit, I would coat everything with grease. That might be why they're coming up semi decently with very little elbow grease. WD-40 I use to keep the stones wet when I'm using the hone. And plus, when you're done for the day, you spray everything with WD and just let it sit with a thin film of oil. I had picked up a set of used connecting rods. Correct part number for this year engine. I said before, let's wait till that focuses in. Where is it at? I don't know if you can see that, but it's 2899496, and that is the correct floating. It is a floating wrist pin. So there's a bronze bushing in there for the wrist pins, and the pistons go on and you use snap rings to retain them, as opposed to the later setup where it's pressed in, and that uses a different part number rod. So yeah, I got 8 rods used, and they seem to be in pretty good shape. I sent my crank out to get shot peened and polished 10 under on all the journals. So that's where we're at. And what I want you to keep in mind, I mean, like a lot of you, I work for a living. I think I have with the commute, an 11-hour day during the week, so I don't get out here much during the week. You want to do all your work on the weekends. You don't want to spend your weekends running around for parts. So you basically do your planning during the week, and then you come out here on the weekends. So you would run and get your honing stones during the week, get your PB Blaster, all your supplies, and then you come out here on the weekend and work, because it takes a lot of time to run around on a Saturday going to a parts house and getting parts. It could take 2 or 3 hours off of your day. Oh, another thing. I started cleaning the rust off the lifter valley. I don't know if you can see it. Let me move this box. I used a product called Evapor Rust. I forget where I bought that. I might have bought that at Lowe's. I seen it somewhere. I knew what it was. I bought it. but if you look right down in here, we're starting to get through wire brush and evapor rust and steel wool. We're starting to get down to where it looks like, you know, cast iron. It has that gray color, and evapor rust is basically an acid. So it's an acid, almost like apple cider vinegar. I mean, I'm not saying that's what it is, but it does the same thing. This side here I haven't done yet, so you can see there's still rust there. And then right in here on this side, I went through here with the evapor rust and, you know, a little steel brush, like a toothbrush shaped with steel bristles. And yeah, and you just keep scrubbing and wiping and then hit it with water and wipe it up with blue shop towels, and then, you know, you can get your lifter valley pretty clean. Keep that in mind if you're doing this on a budget. Now, I'm cleaning this up to inspect it. I don't know yet if I'll send this block out to get shot peened and hot acid tanked and cleaned up really nice. But if you're on a budget, you can do this stuff at home. Get it as clean as you can and go with it, and you can achieve, you know, some sort of success. I mean, what I would recommend is when you fire the engine up and run it, and then change the oil on your initial start. And I think most people do that anyway. So you're gonna waste an oil and filter and 5 quarts of oil on your initial startup, and then you would drain that and then change it and put a new filter, because your initial startup is that oil going through the engine is going to flush whatever dirt you might have missed. I mean, in all reality, you don't want any dirt in your engine, but as a precaution, you change that first oil change right away, like the first day you start it, and then that's a precaution, and it'll get any grit that's in there that you might have missed. All right, more to come. All right, so this is the driver's side bank. This will be cylinder 1, 3, 5, and 7. For those of you that don't know, one cylinder is cast in more forward than the others. So the most forward cylinder on a block is always number 1. And then like some of your Fords, I think your Ford 5.0, cylinder 1's the passenger side front, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's on your Ford. But Mopar is 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8, and that's the same with your small block Chevy. Just a little bit of info. Your most forward cylinder is always number 1, and you need to know which way the manufacturer numbers the cylinders, and that's important for your firing order. Just a little bit of useless, well, not useless information, but anyway, back on subject. So I had honed these cylinders and got the rust off them. You can see they're still not perfect. I have fresh stones on my hone, my Chinese stones from Advanced Auto. So we're going to hit all of these cylinders again with new stones and see how nice they come up. Alright, I'm going to attempt to give a basic visual demonstration of running a cylinder hone. Basically your hone, this knob here, you tighten it and it increases the outward pressure of these stones. Has a little turn collar. I'm going to turn it and that expands it. So the more this pushes out, the more you're removing, you know, thousandths of an inch off your bore. WD-40 just to keep it a little wet, and then you're going to run the drill like so. Then you wipe the bore out and check your progress. Now, I don't know if you could see it or not. There's a bit of something there, probably, you know, pitting from rust. I can keep honing to try to get that out, or I can decide to take it and get it board 30 over. There's a little bit more to do there. A little bit more to do there. That's kind of like your ridge. Could you run it like that? I would say in a pinch, if you didn't have the money to get a board 30 over and your bore taper measurements and ring gaps work, yes, you could run a piston in that bore, because chances are the rings don't even ride on that surface. It all comes down to the rings sealing up. And then your taper, basically think of the top of the cylinder being bigger and the bottom of the cylinder being smaller because it wore out, basically like a, I don't know, I guess a funnel shape, or you could call it a bell shape. Here's the other side. See the, now I can keep honing on these and try and clean that up better. But you ultimately, that one cleaned up better. That's probably one of the best ones. I could keep honing on these. Again, that's where your ridge would be. This block didn't have a bad ridge in it. I can probably knock standard pistons and rings into these bores and they would seal up. And I could run it. I'm not done yet. But yeah, that's honing. Hopefully you guys got something out of that. Just keep it wet with some WD-40. Like I use a thin oil. I'm sure somebody might use 30 weight oil. I think that's a little too thick and it gets sludgy. You just want your stones wet. I would think if anything, it just saves the life of your honing stones. You could actually do, you know, all 8 cylinders with one set of stones by keeping them lubed. If you did it dry, you'd probably wear your stones out quick. But yeah, these bores don't feel bad. Like I said, I might keep honing on them and try and clean them up even more. But it really comes down to the, you know, the piston taper. How the size measured at the top, the size measured at the bottom, you subtract it to. I believe a standard is like 5/1000ths of an inch. 0.005. Some people might say less than that. Basically what you don't want is that ring flexing in and out, going up and down, because the top is so big. Because then the ring, the metal gets fatigued, the spring steel, and the ring gets weak, and it could break, or it'll just get, the springiness will get out of it, it'll lose the seal because it won't be pushing out tight enough. And that's an extreme bore taper case. Other things that would happen with extreme bore taper is oil consumption. Your oil rings won't seal. So you have to know, it's like a go or no go when you measure these things. Do I think these cylinders would seal up? Yes, as long as there's not excessive taper. I believe the rings would seat and seal and they would polish themselves in. But like I said, I'm going to keep going on these. I could hone these until, I could hone these a little more. I can make something like that smaller. I can make it go away, but I might hone in my excessive bore taper. So until I get done honing that, I might make the bore bigger and it needs to go get bored 20 or 30 over. So you got to watch and you got to take measurements. That's the honing. That's my two bits. Another thing you want to do, chase all your bolt holes with a tap. This is a regular tap. They have things called bottoming taps. I do not have a bottoming tap. This is a regular tap you would use if you were cutting fresh threads. So right now I'm chasing the head bolts. Spray WD-40 in the hole to keep it lubed. And you're basically going through cutting all the rust, gunk, and crud out. Now later on I'll go back and blow each one of these out with an air gun. If you do not have an air compressor, use canned air like for computer keyboards. Or you could blast them out with brake clean. I'm coming up with alternatives to actual air if you don't have air. You could blast them out with a little red straw and brake clean, and that would blow all the gunk out, and the brake clean would dry real fast. But yeah, this is all basic block reconditioning. The expansion plugs will be done. That might be later. I don't want to knock them out until I get the new ones. And again, you would knock your expansion plugs out, clean all the gunk out of your water jackets. You could use bottle brushes, bore brushes. You could take it to the car wash, high pressure wash. You basically take all the plugs out and flush all the sludge and gunk out. And this is all stuff you could do yourself if you didn't want to pay somebody else to do it. I'm undecided yet whether I'm going to pay somebody to, shot peen this block, clean it up, hot tank it, whatever. Get it coming back looking like a fresh casting. It really depends how much money I want to sink into it. At this point in life, I've done things cheaply before. You get to a certain point, you want to do things right. You only want to do it once. This might be the last or second to last engine I ever do. I do have a Ford small block laying in the corner I might do something with. I don't know. A 5.0 for a Fox body. Yeah, so this is going in. You got to have a feel for it. Like, I don't feel like I have the wrong tap, but I'm kind of experienced what this should feel like. But if you have to really wrench on it to get it to go, stop, because something's wrong. There might be a broke off bolt in the bottom. It might be packed full of mud. Or you might have the wrong tap and it's cutting fresh threads into a hole. Like, you might be running a coarse thread through a fine thread hole, cutting new threads. So it's all knowing when to stop, knowing when something's wrong. But see how, just talking and doing this, how quick I'm doing it. I'm like, on the 6th hole, actually I think I did 2 holes off camera. But I think I might have did 4 holes. I might have chased 4 holes now, just while this video is running. And I got 4 to go. It'd probably take, 10 minutes, maybe 15 if I really play around. I might dig one of the heads out and set it on top of here and put a bolt in it. I do have a set of late 340, 360 J heads with the 188 intake and 160 exhaust. I'm kicking around putting 202s in them. I don't know. I've heard that it won't make a difference. I don't know. The X heads are on the other engine. The X heads that came with this car, this block, this numbers matching block, are on the engine that's in the car. They have 202s in them. And I have J's in the parts bin that have 188s. Other than that, the casting's the same, the port's the same, the flow's the same. It's just one has 188 intake, the other one has 202s. Will it run good with 188s? Yeah, I believe so. I believe J heads are good heads. Another option is I could put Edelbrock aluminums on it. You see that a lot. You see a lot of guys running the aluminum top ends on these. That is an affordable option. Instead of dumping money into machine work and old heads, you just pay $1,500 and get a set of brand new aluminum heads. something to think about. If you're going to dump $1,000 into the machine shop on old heads, you might want to just go aluminum. Not 100% sure how they work if you need rockers, push rods. I think they accept the shaft mounted rockers, the metal Brock heads. I think they just swap over with shaft mounted rockers, but don't take my word for it because I'm not sure. So I'm getting some resistance in this tap, which tells me the threads are gunked up, but I'm not. I don't see metal coming out. I don't think I'm cutting new threads, you know. I'm just pull the rag out, clean the grooves in the tap, because the dirt will, see the dirt will jam your tap up and cause problems. It'll cause, you know, a jam up or a cross thread issue. Last one. I don't know how many minutes that's been. We will see. But yeah, chase every thread. These are the head bolts. You're going to want to chase every bolt hole in the block, up to and including the oil pan bolts. All along the bottom. I haven't even cleaned the bottom up yet. I just been working on the deck and the cylinders, a little bit in the lifter valleys. But yeah, it's tedious work. It's dirty. People out there, you may want to just take your block, pay a guy to do it in a machine shop. They put it in a shot peen machine or a hot acid tank. You can pay them to knock the freeze plugs out. Go put the new ones in. They'll do anything you want. It's a la carte. It just costs money. I'm going to attempt to show you the ring and feeler gauge method of measuring cylinder taper. So, take one of your rings. This piston and this ring came out of this block. This is a standard Mopar stock 340 piston. Fly cut, notches. There is a number in there. Let's see. The number is 2899479. There's a Chrysler Pentastar in there. So this is an original, I'm going to say it's a cast aluminum piston, but for some reason I thought these were forged or hyper eutectic, whatever. They were special pistons unique to the 340. Which a lot of your new stuff is cast aluminum. So you go to buy, if I go to buy standard pistons for these, unless I go really good, I'm going to get a cast part that'll work, but cast aluminum is like a standard, like what 318 pistons were made out of. But anyway, I'm getting off subject. You're going to take feeler gauges like this. Similar to this, my other ones are already broke apart. There's a little thumb wheel on it. You take them apart. You lay all your feeler gauges out because you're going to have to stack them to put them all together and get an accurate measurement. So I want to go through the process. Your rings, just so you know, are always going to have a chamfer. The chamfer goes in the piston facing the top. So we're going to put this piston in the bore exactly the way it should be. The chamfer's right there. I don't know if you can see it, but you're going to put it in the bore and square it up with the piston. I'm going to put this right down below. Like, I'm going to use the edge of the piston as a guide. I'm going to push it into where the first ring groove is flush all the way around. Now I know that ring is in there. Alright, so you put the ring in the bore. And I put it down with the piston square. So I used the gap in the piston around the edge, lined it all up. I know that's in there square. Now, I have my feeler gauges fan taken apart. I have 25, 0.025, 0.010, 0.013. So that is 35, 48 thousandths of an inch. I believe that's what fits in here. At the top. I went 48, there's 48 thousandths gap at the top. Excuse me. I believe it's 52 thousandths. So I have 0.025, 0.010, 0.017. 25 and 10, 35. 45 plus 7 is 52 thousandths. And they go in there and I can actually, they'll hold. That's tight. But you keep going, I put 0.18 in there and I couldn't get them in between the gap. So you just keep going and you keep increasing it till it won't go, back it off till it does. And that's my stack for the top measurement. It's 52 thousandths of an inch. Take the piston, push it down in the bore near the bottom. I got my hand going up the bottom. I'm about 1.5 inches up from the bottom, where the rings don't ride anyway, probably where the skirt rides. Take the 17 away. I did this earlier. This 13 is what fits in the bottom. Again, tried to put a stack to 14 on there, wouldn't go. I backed off to 13. 12 will go. You put 13 in, that goes. 14 don't go. So we had 52 thousandths at the top, and then you subtract 48 thousandths. So this has a 4 thousandths of an inch taper, 0.004. In my opinion, I can put a set of standard size rings and pistons in here, and it would work. I'm going by a 0.005 taper. Some people will tell you 0.001. I think that is like brand new spec. I think that 0.001's allowed when you get the block back from being bored 30 over. But my point is, I believe this board doesn't need to be overboard, other than maybe to clean up what I can't get out honing it. And there's a little something in there. There was a lot of rust on this block. There's still a little bit of what I'll call a blemish. But it's not a deep gash. It's not a gouge. I believe the rings would seal up over it and polish it out. But anyway, enough of that. That's basically your piston ring, cylinder taper, bore measurement process. You're basically measuring at the top, measure at the bottom, subtracting the difference, and getting the difference.